What is going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today we're going to talk to you on ChargePoint. Currently down 10%. I want to talk on some of the data points, what's been coming out about the company, and where I see things going from here. Before I get into any of that, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate it. And with that, let's get right to it. So like I said, down 10%, a lot of volume for a Friday. So 13.6 million shares have been traded within the first 1 hour of the trading day. So today is going to be well over the average. Today is more of a pullback associated to profit taking. And a lot of analysts and kind of articles have been coming out saying that this last rally over the last, 2 days has been unjustified, which I guess there's different viewpoints on that. There's a lot of articles at the same time and analysts coming out saying that it is justified. So you get that ambiguous kind of circumstance right now. And ChargePoint, after their Q3 earnings, I don't think anyone anticipated it to go as high as it did, especially myself. I definitely didn't. As of right now, the only news that's been coming out is associated to a ambulance chaser trying to get clients for individuals who did buy between, June the 1st and November the 16th for a class action lawsuit against ChargePoint. This always happens. It's just ambulance chasers, like I said. So in my opinion, this isn't really anything to worry about unless, they have something substantial against them. But still, I think a lot of the things that caused it to go down were more broader global issues, not necessarily linked to ChargePoint itself. And so going over a couple data points, starting off with shorts, because shorts have really been taking advantage of ChargePoint over the greater part of 6 months, give or take, but 392.46 thousand shares are being returned. So the fact that ChargePoint is down about 10 something percent and shorts are returning, that does go to show that they feel it's unjustified, that they kind of agree with a lot of the analysts that there is more room to grow. And I'm going to touch on that in a second, but 24.13% of the free float is being shorted, 92.39 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow average is 7.18%, so a little bit lower in comparison to yesterday. And through the interactive broker, short availability does indicate that there's around 650,000 shares available to be shorted. And even though it is pulling back quite considerably today, the technicals are still fairly good. And what I mean by that is just quickly going on to interactive brokers, just looking at the Elliott wave, which does project where it might be going, at least in the short term, but it does have a pivot point of $1.72. So as long as ChargePoint does stay above $1.72, it is realistic to assume that it can bounce between, or as high as $3.66 to $4.05 in the short term. And so I feel like you never know, that could be justified. Today's pullback might be a good opportunity to potentially buy, but keep in mind, I'm not a financial advisor. You guys always do your own due diligence. Before I go over some of the other data points, I just wanted to play this because this is more of an analyst still talking on how there is more room to go up. And I think this really speaks volumes towards ChargePoint exactly.
The equity markets are on a bull run as we approach the new year, but will the good times keep rolling? Joining us right now to answer that question and more on the markets is Morningstar Wealth's Chief Investment Officer to the Americas, Marta Norton. Marta, what do you think? Will this keep rolling on?
I think there's a good reason to be optimistic about what we expect for 2024 when we take a look at valuations. Even in light of this rally, valuations within the equity market are pretty reasonable. I think it's when we see returns of this magnitude, it's easy to forget what the broader year has looked like. And a lot of the equity returns here in the U.S. have been driven by AI, with the broader kind of equal weighted market indexes being closer to flat or modestly positive, 5%, 10% returns. So I think there's still a lot of room to run, especially as we look at some of those rate-sensitive areas that have been punished, regional.
Which technically ChargePoint or any other stock that is kind of heavily reliant on debt is obviously meets that criteria of what she just said. So a lot of those stocks are still set to run fairly significantly. And I believe the consensus is that rates might be cut as early as March 2024. So who knows? Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. Going over options, $411,000 in calls being purchased versus $243,000 in puts. So despite the pullback today, people are anticipating for it to trend up, surprisingly enough. So like I said, today might be a good day to potentially add. You never know though, but looking at some of the call options that are being purchased, it is anticipated for it to be above $3 by the end of next week. Looking at puts, it's anticipated to be sub 250. So both extremes when it comes down to that. Looking at some of the data points. So with it at $2.61 right now, it is between this P and this R1. So 307 is going to be that next strong resistance, which it kind of did break above today, but that's going to be one point to watch for. And then $2.40 is going to be that next strong support. So once again, those are some things that to watch for, at least in the short term. But I do kind of feel, even though they did have a horrendous Q3 earnings, I do feel that ChargePoint could have the opportunity to get above $3 and trade between this R1 and this R2. A lot of other growth stocks, oddly at this stage, are above the R3, so they've gone parabolic. I don't feel, based on ChargePoint's operations, that's justified. So I feel like it does need to go up, but not anywhere close to a lot of other growth stocks, such as Rivian and many others. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. Looking at some of the data points that I like to look at, momentum shows number of retail investors are getting out today, but overall, if you kind of zoom out, they have been getting in ever since around December the 15th. So that's kind of a good thing. But looking at stochastic, it is considered very overbought, especially with it being at 80. And oddly enough, you do see a nice deviation. It's very minor, but the black line above the red showing a nice bullish sentiment. So despite the pullback today, you do have the technicals looking very optimistic. You have this information, so the options activity, which is very bullish, as well as this information, so shorts, using it just as a benchmark. Obviously, it's not a squeeze play, but this is bullish. So technically, you never know. Bigger and better things might be coming down the pipeline. Let me know your thoughts on ChargePoint. Give yourself a shout out. Have you been buying? Have you been selling? What have you been doing with ChargePoint? And do you agree with this? Do you think that it can get to as high as maybe 366? Or do you think it's going to pull back down into the low sixes? What's your viewpoint? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. One final thing I just wanted to share with you, take advantage of this promo. It's only up until December the 31st. Sign up for an account with Moomoo, throw $100 at it, and you get 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. So this is a win-win. Take advantage of that. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, I appreciate all of you watching.